Welcome back, Knuckleheads. I'm Lupinefiasco. This is Daily FaB gameplay, and today we are playing Kayo, Armed and Dangerous. For anyone who's new to the channel, welcome to the jungle. What we do here is review replays of games I played on the Talishar.net client days or weeks ago, after enough time has passed that I lose my bias and can more objectively judge the quality of my play. I will talk through turn cycles as if I were taking them now, walking you through my thought process for the line I would take, and compare that to the line I did take at the time of recording. We either learn from my mistakes or reinforce good play patterns, with the overall goal of tightening and optimizing our gameplay in the future to take down paper events and walk away with that shiny cardboard. If you'd like to check out the deck I'm playing here or try it for yourself on Talishar, there is a FaB deck link in the video description below. While you're down there, if you haven't already done so, please consider subscribing to my channel. It is the best free way to support me and to make sure that you see every new episode of Daily FaB gameplay in your YouTube feed. I also have a Discord, a Blue Sky, and a Patreon, links to which are found in the video description. A Patreon sub at the Arc Lightning tier or higher will get you access to the matchup guide for this deck and for every one of my decks forever. Without further ado, let's jump right into the action. The way we're going to play against Arakni Marionette is more or less the way we play against every assassin, where we are trying to maximize value from our armor to prevent disruptive on-hits, but what we really don't want to do is overcommit to blocks. Depending on the texture of our hand, if we can convert with 4 cards or 3 cards or even 2 cards, then we probably don't want to commit too much to blocks. Say that we have a 4-card hand that converts really well on 3 cards, and we end up blocking a Persuasive Prognosis with one of our 3 blocks, and our opponent has the just enough to get over the top and is able to take a card from us. Well, now we can only convert with 2 cards in our hand, and maybe our 2-card hand is a lot worse than the 3 cards. It's sort of a fringe example. Kayo doesn't have a lot of really good 3-card hands, but you see my point, which is that if we can afford to take damage from something like Leave No Witnesses, or Surgical Extraction, or Persuasive Prognosis, Bonds of Agony, a few of those Arakni Marionette plays, but maybe not all of them. Mark of the Black Widow is a better Marionette example. We're better just taking the damage, letting Marionette take a card from us, and then converting with the rest of the cards in our hand, rather than overcommit to blocks, get blown out by an attack reaction, and then have a much worse turn. We do get to utilize our significant armor advantage against Marionette. Looking across the board, we can see 4 points of armor, only 2 of which Marionette actively wants to use early. Funeral Spring Tunic and Flick Knives are better saved for the end of the game. Meanwhile, we have Scowling Flesh Bag, 2 points on Savage Sash, 3 points on Bone Breaker, 3 points on Leathers. We're very far ahead in effective life total. Now, that all being said, we are going to lose this game. So this is a great example to see where we can maybe get an edge, where we made some play mistakes. I have a few ideas, but we can work through those together. We did lose the die roll and now have to go first. It isn't ideal, but what we do have going for us is an agile windup that we can discard to make might and agility. Do we want to let Marionette filter? I don't want to. For one thing, Marionette is more or less an aggressive deck. There's always a risk at letting your aggro opponents filter cards out of their hand to draw a better hand for when they get to apply pressure to us on turn 2. But against Assassin in particular, I don't want to do Arakni's job of filling the graveyard for them because of Codex of Frailty. If I say, attack with E-Strike, bottom agile windup, send for 7, and Arakni blocks with Command and Conquer, Leave No Witnesses, and Persuasive Prognosis, now they're kind of just set up for any sort of Codex of Frailty recursion, and I want to make them at least work for it. So what my opening play here is going to will be to discard Agile Windup, make a Might and an Agility, and then Arsenal, Command and Conquer, which to me is the more important card in my hand. Choosing the E-Strike instead, this doesn't super matter. My thought is I want to be able to send CNC more than I want to send Enlightened Strike. So if I arsenal the CNC, I can block with the E-Strike to protect the CNC. rather than here, where if I really want to get my CNC value, I need to keep 2 cards in hand rather than just 1. Or if I really want to convert value on my turn, I need to keep at least 3 cards. I need to keep a yellow or blue to pitch to Command and Conquer, and then I need to keep another card to bottom to Enlightened Strike. That means I'm not going to block this dagger. Generally, we're not blocking Hunter's Clave. It's unfortunate that we get marked on hit. This does have Piercing 1. We could cover it with a 2-block piece of equipment, but I'm not super committed to that line. We also see Flick Knives on Marionette's side of the board. So the fact that we would block the Hunter's Clave does not even mean that we aren't getting marked. Arakni could just flick the other Hunter's Clave if he really wanted to mark us. They really wanted to mark us. If we didn't block the first dagger, we're not going to block the second one. We get hit with a to the point, which is adding 4 damage to this Hunter's Clave. Not bad, but effectively it is just damage. We're waiting for any sort of on-hit from Marionette, and we don't get one. Marionette transforms into Tarantula. This one has an attack reaction to discard a card, give target dagger attack +3. The fact that Arakni is playing to the point makes me think that they are more of a dagger-focused build. So Tarantula is actually pretty scary here. We will just play out this turn as normal though. So what we can do with this hand is a few interesting things. We could play Bare Fangs, discarding Run Roughshod, using our agility to give it go again, and just hoping that we don't discard the Command and Conquer in our hand. I don't love that line, especially because Command and Conquer would have +1 power from Might if we attack with it first. So what I think I'm doing this turn is sending Command and Conquer for 7 with Go Again, pitching Agile Windup, and then playing Bare Fangs, pitching Run Roughshod. We should hopefully send 14 damage with Arsenal Disruption and generate a Might token from Kayo's ability. We also keep an Enlightened Strike in our arsenal, which is not incredible, but it is a very flexible play that we can end up keeping 1 card for if we get disrupted or feel like we want to block. But I do think the most important aspect of this turn is Command and Conquer for 7 Go Again. We could also CNC for 7 Go Again, E-Strike for 7, bottoming Bare Fangs, and then discard Agile Windup to make Might and Agility. We continue to set up and lose our arsenal in case of Command and Conquer or Leave No Witnesses. We've already seen 1 Codex of Frailty pitch. We also know that Arakni does not have any good Codex targets in their graveyard. So we are more punished by having an arsenal than we are from not having an arsenal. So that might actually be the better line here. We're still pushing 14. We still make a Might, but rather than have an arsenal, we have an agility, and that could actually just be better. But Arakni's using Mask of Deceit here. We are marked, so they are going to get to decide which member of the brood they become, as long as it isn't Tarantula. We see Black Widow, not a huge surprise. But Arakni is already blocked with 2 cards from hand, so we need to decide what is more threatening. Are we more threatened by... If the Black Widow hits, would we rather have 3 cards in hand and agility, or would we rather have 4 cards in hand and arsenal and no agility? Considering that we have Scowling Fleshbag and we can just shut down this Black Widow, assuming that Arakni plays a stealth card from hand rather than from arsenal, we just banish away the second card in hand before Arakni has a reaction window. That could be a great way to cause an intellect penalty, potentially just ruin whatever Arakni has planned. We would be able to keep 4 cards, so what I actually do like doing here is the E-Strike, discard windup line. But I think this is very defensible as well. This means that we could potentially just take 6 points of damage from Arakni Black Widow. We get hit with an Inertia Trap and a Lair of the Spider, so we are already marked. Lair of the Spider is not currently active, but we are already marked. We are going to lose our E-Strike to the Inertia Trap, so we do get punished by not taking the E-Strike line, unfortunately, but we're still in fine shape. Arakni just became Black Widow and does not have a card to discard. We draw a pretty unfortunate hand here. Not that this would be all that much better with agility. If we did have agility, we are probably looking at Swing Big for 9, Go Again, pitch Record Romp to Mandible Claw for 3, and Arsenal run Roughshod, which is not incredible. What we'll do instead is Swing Big for 9, pitching Record Romp, and then Arsenal run Roughshod. Not the best card to have in Arsenal, honestly, but still fine. Making the actual correct decision to keep Record Romp here because we can block with Record Romp and Bone Breaker if we need to, and make a Might token. Getting hit with another layer of the spider, which does not trigger. We're still marked, so this really doesn't matter. And we'll Arsenal this run Roughshod. We draw into not a Wild Ride, so we won't be able to 3-card 12 make Might, but maybe we can do something like pitch, Record Romp, attack with Mandible Claw for 3, discard Mighty Windup, make 2 Mights, attack with run Roughshod, so getting effectively a 3-card 10, and then Arsenal Command and Conquer, depending on whether we feel like we need to block. Got a Safer Bloodshed coming for +4 with a draw on hit. Arakni here using the Hunter's Clave and pitching Shelter from the Storm, so telegraphing pretty heavily that they either don't have a blue or a yellow, or the blue or yellow is something like a Codex of Frailty, and they want to use that on their turn after this Hunter's Clave. We don't really need to block this. We can block whatever the follow-up is. Arakni either has a reaction for this Hunter's Clave if we end up blocking 5, or Arakni just uses Flick Knives and throws the other Clave at us to draw a card, deal a damage, remark us. So I don't feel like this block is really necessary, especially because the Hunter's Clave has piercing, so if we block with armor, then we actually need to block 6. Glad that I caught that in the moment there and didn't just super commit to blocks. I don't love taking 5 here, but I think it's the right call, and then we can block whatever the next thing that Arakni plays is. Just sort of an unfortunate situation. The last hand was not great, and this hand is fine, but not incredible. I think that blocking here is a mistake for what I was talking about before, which is we commit cards to blocking and then get blown out by some sort of disruption. If we blocked with 2 cards here, maybe Riled Up and Record Romp, and then the next card that Arakni plays is something like Mark of the Black Widow, we need to block it, and then we don't have a turn. And I think that is just strictly worse. Seeing Arakni get stuck with a few defense reactions here, so now we can decide if we feel like blocking for value. We could block with Record Romp for 3. Does that blow us out in any way? Not really. I don't believe Arakni has any disruption tied to Stealth from Graphene Cholerica, except for Take Up the Mantle. Don't know if that works on Cholerica, and also Arakni hasn't played any stealth attacks that are disruptive. No Mark of the Black Widow, no Funnel Web, not even Persuasive Prognosis, so there really is no good swap here. We could block for value, just put Record Romp and Apex Bonebreaker in front of the Cholerica, then do something like play Command and Conquer, pitch Riled Up, discard Mighty Windup to make 2 Mights. If we end up keeping this entire hand, then what we do is pitch Record Romp, attack with Mandible Claw, discard Mighty Windup to give it Go Again, make 2 Mights, and then pitch Riled Up to play Command and Conquer. That doesn't seem like a good use of resources. I believe the best line here is very likely Record Romp and Bonebreaker, and then give ourselves the option to either Command and Conquer for 7 and hit whatever this card in Arakni's arsenal is, or if we get hit with a reaction, then we pitch Riled Up, attack with Mandible Claw, discard Mighty Windup, attack with Run Roughshod, Arsenal, Command and Conquer. We do get hit with Tarantula Toxin, which, because it is affecting a Stealth Dagger, means that it is a 1-card 6. Thank God. I was very concerned about Assassin not having enough 6-value 1-card plays. We catch a lucky break from Arakni using Tarantula Toxin on our Record Romp rather than our Bonebreaker. This is a really interesting line, and Kayo is particularly in danger from plays like this, from Tarantula Toxin and Shred. If they are used on our Temper equipment, then the defense value of that equipment becomes 0, the combat chain closes, Temper sees that it has 0 armor, and the piece of armor breaks. This is compared to Scabskin Leathers or any battle-worn piece of equipment, where the defense value becomes 0, the armor does not break because battle-worn armor doesn't break like that, the turn ends, and then the block value of the armor returns. So when your assassin opponent is holding multiple cards, at least one card in hand on an attack like this, be aware of Tarantula Toxin and Shred, particularly when you're deciding to block with Savage Sash. So we get a little blown out there. It isn't too bad. Like I said, we don't really have a good way to convert a 5-card hand here. So the fact that we block with Wrecker Romp, not like a huge deal. It is more annoying than anything because we let the Tarantula Toxin get 6 points of value instead of just 3. But again, we didn't really have a good way to navigate that turn outside of that play. Here we draw into another potentially interesting hand. We don't have much to do with this. If we keep 5 cards, we end up playing Blood Rush Bellow, pitching Smash Instinct, hoping that we discard our Beast Within. We also need to draw something with Go Again so that we can actually convert our entire hand, because if we just draw more 2-cost 6-power brute attacks, our turn is like Mandible Claw into Finisher, and that does a lot of damage but isn't that good. So what are we trying to do here? Our best line is probably either block the Cholerica with Wrecker Romp and then play Blood Rush Bellow, pitching Smash Instinct, and guaranteed discard a Beast Within, and just hoping that the top 3 cards of our deck do something. We could block with Wrecker Romp, Smash Instinct, then play Command and Conquer, pitching Beast Within, and Arsenal Blood Rush Bellow. It's probably our best line. But overall, this is just an awkward hand for us. It doesn't do the things that we want it to do. I could block with Savage Sash here, get my block value before I play my Blood Rush Bellow in case I need to break Sash, but Arakni is holding a card in hand. I don't want to play into another Tarantula Toxin or Shred and lose my Savage Sash. Our deck is just being a little clunky right now as far as what do our hands do, so I think the best way to navigate this block is just put the Wrecker Romp in front of the Cholerica and then throw a 3-card Blood Rush with Beast Within and hope that we draw something with Go Again off the top of our deck. I like that more than just blocking for 6 and kind of hoping that CNC for 8 is relevant. Very curious to see what I do with this hand. We don't really need to block with the Bone Breaker here. So yeah, putting Wrecker Romp in front of the Cholerica, just getting some value out of it. Now, if I had something like a Wild Ride in my hand, or especially in my arsenal, then I will keep the Wrecker Romp and just say no blocks so that I have multiple chances at discarding the Beast Within. But in this case, we just, again, kind of draw poorly. So we have a few ways to navigate this turn. We could start with Scabskin Leathers and just pray that something happens. We would then very likely break Sash and do something like Pack Hunt into Mandible Claw into Command and Conquer, but the fact that we don't have Go Again just means that things are not looking great. I mean, this is probably just going to be Mandible Claw for 7 Go Again into Pack Hunt for 8 Intimidate away a card. We could hold on to Clash of Might here in case we end up blocking the Arakni. We get to make another Might. We then get to throw Command and Conquer for 8. Just sort of awkward. This whole game has been awkward so far, just based on the quality of what we're drawing. Arakni playing Codex of Frailty, coming in with Leave No Witnesses for 4. This is just 4. Arakni could not flick the Hunter's Glaive and give the Leave No Witnesses +1 because it doesn't have stealth. So we are very likely going to block with Clash of Might and a Assault and Battery. Our turn will be Pitch Smash Instinct. Come in with Command and Conquer for 7. It is losing 1 point of power because of the frailty, but it still presents a nice breakpoint. We know that Arakni is going to have an arsenal because of the Ponder, and we save all of our equipment. Alternatively, we could block this with Savage Sash and Scabskin Leathers, and then pitch a blue, play Wild Ride. That's probably the better line. Let's just give armor here and send a 5-card hand. I don't love this play. This is setting up for Wild Ride into Mandible Claw into Command and Conquer, but there is a decent chance that we brick like we just did, discard a blue instead of a red. We still get to Command and Conquer here, but if we had another card in our hand, then we would have been able to, 2 things. 1, keep a card in Arsenal. 2, be able to throw like a Mandible Claw, something else in here so that we're doing a little more damage this turn. And we would have gotten to use our armor block value. I just think that that was a poor block. It was an unnecessary block. We either should have committed more cards to hand so that the CNC came in for 7, or we should have committed fewer cards so that we get to keep 5 and hopefully have a much more productive turn than what we ended up having. Got a Savor Bloodshed coming in, making this Clave 5 with Go Again. There is no draw effect on this Clave, and unless this card that Arakni is holding is a Reaper's Call, that would mark us at instant speed. There will not be a draw effect on this Clave. However, if we get marked, Arakni's follow-up is just Cholerica. That would have Go Again, and it would have a draw trigger tied to it. What I might want to do here, just to make sure that Arakni doesn't draw, is use the Scowling Flesh Bag on the Hunter's Clave, intimidate away this card, and then throw another piece of armor at the Cholerica. To be honest, I don't really like that. We can afford to take 5 here, let Arakni attack with the Cholerica, and then use our Scowling Flesh Bag on that. We are preventing 2 points of damage. Arakni gets to flip, but does not draw a card. We Scowling Flesh Bagged away this card, so we're guaranteeing that Arakni has a card in hand, and then our turn is play Command and Conquer, pitch Wild Ride, discard Mighty Wind-Up to make 2 mites, and Arsenal Bear Fangs. I think that's our best line. So what I'm advocating for is say no blocks on the Hunter's Clave, then use our Scowling Flesh Bag to block the Cholerica follow-up. Arakni will not have the ability to play a reaction before the Flesh Bag resolves, and it just seems like a good line to me. It seems like the best way to maximize value in this hand, make sure that Arakni has an arsenal for our Command and Conquer, and also set up 2 mites for the next turn. We're sitting on a Savage Sash and Scabskin Leathers that both have full block value. I don't like this block because this gives Arakni the ability to draw with Cholerica. I like the energy where we are getting our Flesh Bag value. We are ensuring that Arakni has an arsenal, but this does give Arakni the Cholerica follow-up. No, it does not have Go Again, but even so, well, now it does. And it's going to let Arakni draw. I just think this was not good. We took damage where we didn't need to, and we also gave Arakni, well, this is just 1. We're not marked, so it's fine. Arakni also does not have the ability to easily mark us with Clave, but I would have been happy to take more damage there from the Clave, be able to prevent the draw, which ended up being fine. Oh, I hate this. This is going to be Wild Ride, pitch Mighty Wind-Up, hoping to keep this Command and Conquer, and work a Mandible Claw in here. So we are presenting some damage, but I think we could have taken this turn to set up and then have a much bigger turn later. I mean, we'll see. We were going to draw an Assault and Battery. We would have had a Bear Fangs and Arsenal. So we can see what we will draw into. If we draw into like a Wild Ride or a Blood Rush Bella, then I think this was a bad line. We end up getting Arakni's entire hand and the Flick Knives. Unfortunately, at this point, Flick Knives has kind of done all it needed to do, so this isn't very good for us. We end up not drawing into Go again, so this is kind of okay. What we can do here, since we are trying to present lethal, is block with Clash of Might, attack with Bare Fangs, pitch Send Packing, discard Agile Windup, make Agility, Bare Fangs will make a Might from Kayo, and then we are just counting on Arakni not being able to do 10 points of damage, 9 points of damage, with a 4-card hand with no mark. Yes, Arakni does have Snapdragon Scalers. I think we should block this with Clash of Might, make a Might, send Bare Fangs for what will hopefully be 11, and then make an Agility with Agile Windup and just be set up for our next turn. It's a really bad way to use Agile Windup. You're getting just Go again. Feels really bad, but unfortunately, we don't have much of a better way to use this hand, so I think this is fine. We see that we have a blue Mighty Windup on top of our deck. Arakni is sitting on, well, we're about to lose our blue Mighty Windup because of the Leave No Witnesses, but we know that Arakni has a defense reaction. But with no arsenal, there's no real reason to, like, sandbag it. Sending the Bare Fangs for 10. Keeping a Send Packing, this is fine. Seeing an E-Strike on top of the deck just gives us some options for how to convert the next hand. It really depends on what Arakni does on their turn. Playing out 2 defense reactions, so completely blocking out the Bare Fangs. We'll see what Arakni has lined up for their turn. Tunic into Cholerica for 1. We are not marked. I believe the line here is going to be... We have a few options. We're definitely taking 1 from this Cholerica. I believe what we should do for our turn, we have some options. We can Mandible Claw, pitch Wrecker Romp, discard Agile Windup to make Might and Agility, then play something like Pack Hunt in order to intimidate a card away, push a little damage, and then be set up. We could discard the Agile Windup on Arakni's turn. That doesn't really do anything because we don't have an E-Strike. We have a Send Packing and Arsenal, which just doesn't super work well with our hand. We could block the Cholerica with Pack Hunt, play Send Packing from Arsenal, pitching Wrecker Romp, discard Agile Windup to make Might and Agility, hopefully pressure Arakni to give us some cards and see what they have planned for their turn. But I think the best way to use this hand is just take 1 from the Cholerica, then Wrecker Romp, pitch Wrecker Romp, Mandible Claws, discard Agile Windup, swing big, push 11 points of damage, and set up for our next turn. Just really pushing damage. We could also pitch Swing Big and Pack Hunt to play Send Packing, which of course now doesn't matter that we know that Arakni had a defense reaction in Arsenal. I think Swing Big is the line here more than Pack Hunt. Neither one pushes lethal, but Swing Big is just dealing more damage, and we are set up for our next turn. See how Arakni wants to block this. They still have Snapdragon Scalers, so while the Quicken could potentially be helpful, it isn't like... It would not enable a turn that they didn't already have access to. Arakni taking 4 here, going to 5. We are set up for our next turn, depending on Arakni's hand. We draw into 3 reds, which is pretty unfortunate. So Arakni showing Kiss of Death. No Flick Knife follow-up, but we need to be aware of the 3rd Tarantula Toxin if we end up blocking this. And Snapdragon Scalers will let the Kiss of Death go even wider. I believe we need to make Arakni have it. That's our best way out of this game, so I like blocking with Clash of Might. And could give Scabskin Leathers here. We are taking 3, 4 from the Kiss of Death if it hits. Tarantula Toxin would make it 7. Arakni would need another reaction in hand in order to push this over the top. We know that they still have a to the point, so it's entirely possible that Arakni can give this +6 and take away our 3 points of block from Clash of Might. We could block this with 6, Clash of Might, and Beast Within cover this, and then E-Strike for potentially, well, the Clash of Might will show us what's on top of our deck. If it's a blue, then we get to follow up with Send Packing, which would be incredible. And in that case, our mode for E-Strike would be draw a card, because we have agility to give it a go again. But I think blocking with Clash of Might and Scabskin Leathers, which we can give, is how we get is how we play to win. If we block with Beast Within, we're playing to not lose. But if we block with Clash of Might and Scabskin Leathers, we're making Arakni have exactly the win. And I like that more. I like playing to win more than playing to not lose, because playing to not lose means that you don't win. This is a hand that really suffers from not having a blue. If this Wild Ride was a blue, then I feel a lot better about blocking with Beast Within because I can disrupt. But I think that this is not good. I am calling it should just be Clash of Might and Scabskin Leathers. We see a Blood Rush on top of our deck, which is terrible. We also see Arakni using the Snapdragon Scalers rather than any sort of pump. Got a Chilerica coming for 1, with a Stains of the Red back, giving it +3. So we know that we are going to draw into a Blood Rush Bellow. The best way to navigate this hand then is to E-Strike, draw a card, bottoming a Wild Ride. We draw our Blood Rush and pitch it to Mandible Claw. We're doing 8 points of damage, but doing it in a way that's split between 5 and 3 rather than one single use of 8. This Send Packing in our arsenal continues to screw us. If it costed 2, then we'd be okay. But we also get punished for having given another card to block the Arakni. If we were at 1 here, then we could just win the game, because we would be able to, well, we wouldn't necessarily win, but we'd be able to get another card out of Arakni's hand. They would need to block our Send Packing, and they'd be at 2 here with 1 card left. We draw into a pretty atrocious setup. We need to block this Leave No Witnesses with at least 1 card to not be dead. It has the Might from our own Clash of Might, unfortunately. The best line here, it depends on if we want to risk this Blood Rush. We could block with Smash Instinct and lose our Send Packing from Arsenal, go to 2. Then play Blood Rush, pitching Bear Fangs, float 1 resource, we discard our second Bear Fang, and we're really hoping that we draw a blue and a red, so that we can Mandible Claw Finisher, which should be enough to win the game, or at least get Arakni's entire hand and then spiral the game from there. We could also block with Smash Instinct and Blood Rush Bellow, then send Bear Fangs for 7 and make a Might. We get a card from Arakni. I think the highest upside here is going to be blocking with Smash Instinct and going to 2, losing our Send Packing, and then playing Blood Rush and just hoping that we draw into a blue and a red. But we're in a really bad spot here. Overall, this game has put us into really bad spots. From just some awkward draws, the Send Packing has been awkward the entire time, just the fact that it costs 3. So let's see what we rip with this Blood Rush. Get a Under the Trapdoor from Arakni, just turning it into a defense reaction. It's fine. Doesn't necessarily help or hurt us. Just waiting to see, again, hoping for a blue and a red. Even a yellow and a red could potentially get us there. The fact that it's 2 yellows is just absolutely terrible. We can only do 1 thing this turn. This Inertia Trap, even says that there's no reason to just Mandible Claw, Arsenal, a Wild Ride. The only good line here is play Wild Ride, pitch Beast Within, and hope, but we would have needed to rip a Beast Within off the top, draw another card, and then be able to Mandible Claw. Here we're just, Arakni just needs to give us the Inertia Trap and go to 1, and then could probably kill us with 3 cards. Just really, really bad there. Really not what we needed to see. We needed just the ability to work a Mandible Claw into this turn, and this is a situation where, hey, if we had had Savage Sash, then we actually do get to do something better there. We got this Infiltrate coming in for 3. Our hand, again, is not very good. Just a little late on either this Wild Ride or some of these blues. We really would have loved to see last turn. We have to block this Infiltrate. I mean, for one thing, if we don't block it, we die. Do we need to put 6 in front of this? Probably. And we're just blocking with Riled Up and Pack Hunt. At this point, Arakni has us in a spiral where we need to assume that there is always going to be the answer. Even if we do block 3 here, we make Arakni have it, and we are going to Pack Hunt. Alternatively, we Wild Ride, send 7, get hopefully 2 cards out of Arakni, make a Might, and then hope to leak a little damage. Arakni doesn't have 2 cards that it can really make use out of. This is not the play I would have liked to make. I would have liked to block with the Riled Up if I was going to make Arakni have it, so that I can Pack Hunt on their turn and Arsenal this Wild Ride. So Arakni puts us to 1, is able to hit, grabs a Bear Fangs off the top of our deck, which is very likely just 6 from Arakni's side of the board. Man, we really wish this was a blue for them. Draw into another Send Packing, which will just turn into a Mandible Claw. And Arakni here able to mark us with Lair of the Spider. That's pretty brutal. We will push 1 point of damage. We get to Mandible Claw as a follow-up and get another card from Arakni. The fact that they have Bear Fangs means that they just get to throw 6 at us and we have to give them 2 cards. But they are going to flip into a member of the Brood at the end of their turn, and that has the potential to be really bad for us. This is Bear Fangs for 6. Unfortunately, we need to give 2 cards here to not be dead. Now those 2 cards are just going to be Riled Up and Run Roughshod. Our turn will be E-Strike for 8, bottoming Agile Windup. It'd be nice if we could keep enough cards here to Mandible Claw and Run Roughshod, but not meant to happen. So we are just going to hope that Arakni needs to, maybe Arakni draws enough 2-block reactions that they have to give us 3 cards here. The red back is just presenting a possible 6, which we should be able to block, although it could affect the Cholerica. Putting Arakni down to 1. I don't have Reckless Swing in this deck. We just have a Kiss of Death, which we are going to need to put 6 in front of. Unfortunately, our follow-up is not very good, but we do get to, say, keep a blue, keep a Run Roughshod, pitch it to Smash Instinct, which comes in for 5, intimidates away a card. Arakni has to block with 2. So you're going to want to put 6 in front of this to play around the red back effect, giving Kiss of Death plus 1. Go again. But unfortunately, to the point, makes it 7, so we are just going to die here. Really awkward game. I felt like we drew fine, and you can see that our value per turn was much higher than Arakni's, but just a series of awkward draws left us with not a ton to do, and I definitely punted at some points. Not blocking that Leave No Witnesses a few turns ago with Armor let us not keep 5 cards. With 5 cards, we would have been able to do a little more damage on that turn, or at least set up an arsenal. We unfortunately had a Send Packing stuck in our arsenal for a while that we were just never able to play. That sort of speaks to that awkwardness of our deck not really giving us cards that let us do things. But it is hard to point to where we really went wrong in this game. I think it was the armor block on the Leave No Witnesses, and maybe some aggressive use of armor on that Hunter's Clave that could have just been Scowling Fleshbag. Instead, we take a little more damage, but keep our armor, which maybe lets us set something up on a future turn. Overall, just kind of awkward. The deck kind of being very medium, which we needed something more from our deck here. Let me know in the comments if you saw anything that I've missed that really stands out to you as like, hey, here's where we lost. Here's why this didn't go our way. I hope you enjoyed this game. I hope you learned something from it. If so, be sure to assault and batter that like button. Like I said, my comments are always open for any questions or feedback. If you haven't already done so, please consider a YouTube subscription. It's free. It helps me out a lot. I have a Blue Sky, a Discord, and a Patreon, links to which are in the video description below. I'll be back later this week with more daily FaB gameplay, and until then, take care.